Hey everybody, it's Kai Deering here again, and this is day 4 of our 14-day series where we're going to come to you live every single day for 14 days as we head through Cyber Monday, right? We have, Small Business Saturday, and then Black Friday. So for all of those dates, and because that's a real heyday for us to be able to have be a victim of identity theft, I thought I would come to you every day for 14 days and share with you a couple of insights. And so today is the day 4, and we've shared with you in the last few days really 5 common areas of identity theft. So we shared the first day, driver's license and social security identity theft, if you want to go check that out. Day 2, we did medical and character identity theft, and then day 3, we did financial and the mosaic. And so today we're going to transition out of what is identity theft, and we're going to transition into some facts. And so we're going to do some facts. Then next day we're going to talk about who's doing it. Then we're going to talk about, how they're getting your information, a couple of days worth of prevention tips. And if you have questions, the good news is you can interact with me live on this platform, or you're welcome to go ahead and send an email, or write a comment down below. So we're going to go ahead and get started here right now. So first of all, let's talk about some of the facts. So this is the number 1 complaint according to the Federal Trade Commissions. And in fact, 2022 is obviously not out yet, but 2021, they received 1.4 million identity theft complaints. That is a lot. And that is actually, if you do the math on that, it's like 1 in 200 that are victims. But here's what's interesting about all of that is less than 32% of victims even report a crime. And here's why. If you get hit for, I'll give you an example. So some of the data breaches that we've seen, they've been colleges and whatnot. So if they're going to, break in, Berkeley had a break in a while back. So give you an example. They go into Berkeley, and a smart criminal is just going to have like a million names and just take $10 from a million people. They'd never report it. Most of them wouldn't even notice it. And they've now absconded with $10 million. I mean, that's the best little scam out there if they're going to do identity theft. And so some of them don't even know they've been victims. They don't report it, or maybe it's such a small dollar amount, they got it reversed off their credit card and never reported it. So I had an issue. We talked about credit card fraud and whatnot. I had an issue on mine. I didn't call the Federal Trade Commission. I just got the charges reversed from my credit card, and I was on my way. So that's why I think this number is way higher than that, is because that would be just the ones that are reporting to the Federal Trade Commission. And if that's true, that's 1 in 200. But there's also some statistics that say, there's 1 million children that are being victimized as well. Because think about it, we are in an age now where when I was a kid, we didn't get a social security number until we got our first job. But nowadays, kids can get social security at birth. And so what happens is they're ripe for being a victim, and they wouldn't know until, they turn 18 and they want to get that credit card at their college, right? So kids are a real problem right now being a victim of that. We've also got a real problem with our armed forces. So a big percentage of people that are victims of identity theft are also in our armed forces. They're not at home being able to monitor their credit or do anything like that. So it's a big challenge. The other challenge that I see with this, aside from being the number 1 complaint at the Federal Trade Commission, 1 in 200, way underreported at 32%, even reporting the crime. Because think about it, if you've been a victim, have you reported it? The other one is less than 1%. It's actually 0.14% of the thieves are brought to justice. And that's a abysmal number, right? You're dealing with all kinds of issues. There's jurisdiction issues. So let's say, my perpetrator was out of state or out of the country. Where does that fall under? Who's responsible for that? Nobody really wants to deal with it. There's so much paperwork involved with it. It's almost impossible to be able to bring these thieves to justice. Unlike if you think about a property crime, 16% of those property crimes, someone breaks into your car, they're brought to justice. A violent offender, violent criminals, 45%. So unfortunately here, most people don't want to deal with it, don't want to take it, don't want to have to, it's not very sexy, if you will, if you're law enforcement. It's not, somebody's been victimized, and there's so many other violent crimes and things out there that are going to take precedence over, somebody with some identity theft issues potentially. So it's a very difficult crime to bring to justice. It's hard to prosecute. Nobody really wants to deal with it. Law enforcement doesn't really want to deal with it. And so it's a big problem for sure. The other thing is, it's very, very common. It's been the number 1 complaint for the Federal Trade Commission. They get thousands of calls a week on this issue. but it's been the number one complaint for the Federal Trade Commission for years and years and years. And as of 2021, the top 5 states were Rhode Island, Kansas, Illinois, Louisiana, and Georgia. And it's ironic that California has finally fallen off that, as well as Florida. They've been traditionally kind of leading the charge, if you will. And I looked at the Sentinel, which is part of the Federal Trade Commission that does report. They have said that literally this crime is up a huge percentage over the last couple of years. So you can see it going just straight up there. And that's only through 2020. They didn't have the 2021 out there yet. But the reason that is a big part of it's due to COVID. So if you think about it, remote workers are also a big problem because they are using unsecured passwords, unsecured Wi-Fi. They have not the best passwords. So a lot of that is on the rise. And in fact, we're going to talk about cybercrimes and from company standpoints, and that's up like 300% during the pandemic. And so as you can see, this is a big, huge problem. And so those are just some of the stats. I could have bored you to death with a bunch of stats. So please, check out the report, the consumer report from Sentinel, which is an arm of the Federal Trade Commissions. You can definitely check out information on there as well. But just know it's topping the charts at the Federal Trade. It's the number one concern really of law enforcement as we move forward with regards to not being able to handle it, not having enough people to deal with it. And I used to actually do a lot of talks with the Electronics Crime Division in Redwood City. And, there's all kinds of interesting information that they brought to the table, everywhere from, how do you prosecute it? Because they use strip cut shredders. How do you put all those pieces back together again? They were saying that one identity theft issue, they needed to have a whole hanger to be able to put those little strip cuts back together to be able to make that perpetrator come to justice. It's bought and sold multiple times. So how do you know who really did it? So there's a lot of challenges. So we've gone over, kind of what are the 6 areas of identity theft. We've gone over some of the statistics and facts. And then tomorrow, we're going to start really getting into some more nitty gritty of really who's doing it. Then we're going to talk about how they're doing it, prevention tips, and then how it affects businesses. So stay tuned. I'm really excited to be able to share with you some information, and I look forward to fielding all of your questions. So take care, take charge. We'll see you over the top. See you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.